Hello, hello, hello. It is Thursday. It is 12:07 and it is time for our lunch and learn for today. Hi, I am one of your co-hosts, LaQuita, and I am a military spouse that provides work from home positions for other military spouses as well as dependents. And today I'm joined as always by my wonderful co-host, Miss Adina Collins, and we have an amazing guest today, Miss Monique Williamson, and she is coming to us today to give us some great information that I think no matter what field that you're in, whether you work from home, whether you're a stay-at-home mom, it really doesn't matter. But the information that she's going to provide to us is for each of us as individuals, and I can't wait to engage in this conversation. So, ladies, how is everyone doing today?
Doing well.
Same. Yeah, it's looking to be a nice day out in Charlotte. It's supposed to be 80 degrees today. So gonna get out, play some tennis, right? Try to get moving.
Get you some cardio going. All right.
Mm-hmm.
All right. Well, I can't say that I'm going to get out and do any cardio today in Texas, but I am going to get
out. So I got to wait until the sun goes down because Charlotte heat it is not a joke.
It's not
but
a joke.
2020 goals don't stop. So I had to meet off goals in January, and I still got what? Let's see, 7 more months to get them.
It'll happen. It'll happen. Miss Adina, how are things going on in Frisco?
They are going well as can be expected. Gorgeous day here, so just enjoying being able to see this minus pollen. So yeah.
We can do without that every day.
Absolutely.
Definitely do without that every day. Well, Miss Monique, please, for our audience, and I'd just like to take the time to thank everyone for coming on and joining us across Facebook, Periscope, Twitter, and YouTube. Guys, thank you so much for your weekly participation in our live. We really do appreciate it, and we look forward to you all engaging in this conversation today. But Miss Monique, tell us about who you are and what you do.
For sure. So hello, everyone. I am Monique Williamson, and I am the owner of Becoming Enriched. Becoming Enriched is a mental wellness brand that is made for the Black community. I am a therapist. I am a licensed marriage and family therapist. And while I was in my grad program, I did my master's thesis on African-American engagement in therapy. And it kind of just skyrocketed me from there because I realized how necessary therapy was for our community just because of the historical context in America. Obviously, multiple traumas, but the one thing that really has not been addressed is the fact that we have to heal now, right? We have to take this time to start flipping that script and really focus inward, because I think we've done so much activism, which has obviously been absolutely necessary, but the activism has been change the system, change this, change all that. Where I think we do need to take a minute to say okay, well, let's also change us too, right? Let's get all of us to a place that is solid and forward moving and forward thinking. I think through, again, historical context, a lot of things have been left in the cracks, and I kind of wanted to just help our community move forward.
Wow. That's a beautiful thing. You know, last year I did a series. My cousin is actually LMFT out of Tennessee, and she has this whole series she does on self-care. And we spent about 30 days going through self-care. It's specifically targeted towards not just the Black community, but Black women in general, because we tend to be care providers for everyone else.
Yes.
But us.
100%. Yes.
Yeah. And so I'm a really big advocate of mental health in the Black community. And because I am a minister, also I'm a really big advocate for mental health, changing the narrative or changing the way mental health is perceived by the church, because we can work in conjunction there's some excellent faith-based therapists that I know that can work very well with pastors and other ministers in order to make sure that the lay members are getting the help, and then the leaders themselves getting the help that they need, because it's not easy.
No,
Life
not
is
at all.
life is not a box of chocolates. Wish you
Right.
were.
Right. Murphy's Law. Whatever will go wrong can go wrong, will go wrong.
We'll go wrong. Yeah, definitely,
Mhm.
definitely. So yeah, I love to hear. I can't wait to hear more about what you have to say because this is exciting for me.
Right, absolutely.
This is exciting for me.
Yeah,
It
no, I
is.
love that you mentioned faith-based therapy. It's actually like one of my favorite things to do with my clients because a lot of people feel like, like church just does not have a place in therapy. And I was like, if church has a place in your life, then it has a place in this session,
Yeah.
like point blank period, because like you can't exclude someone's belief system, right? That is very much dependent on their behavior and like actions, the way they think about things. And then just try to like piece that out and just like, well, we're going to sit that here and only work on everything else, I have found faith to be a wonderful thing towards helping my clients like move forward. And I love that you're like advocating for that in the church because it is so necessary. The Black community is very involved in the church, very religious, actually the highest religious ethnic minority in the country. I think we have about 86% that believes in God. And it's a really important connection.
It is. It is. One of the things that when I'm talking about this with other people, one of the things that I say that if we can believe that the Lord has anointed medical doctors to fix our bodies, and we understand from a spiritual perspective that warfare starts in our mind, that's where it is, then you cannot explain to me in any terms why we cannot embrace the mental health community, because then the same God that anointed my surgeon anointed my therapist so that I can confess my faults to you and you can help me work through that. I can confess my issues to you and you can help me work through that in whatever way that help comes, however it comes packaged. And then somebody like yourself is able to do that in a safe space.
Yeah.
It is. And I think so many people, again, have had, unfortunately, this stigma, in reference to being able to, talk it out. And the thing is that, of course, therapy does provide that safe, confidential space where your business is not going to be told again. There are certain things, that surround, that confidentiality. And again, you are speaking to someone who is not emotionally involved in your particular situation. And there is a definite connection in reference to mind, body, and spirit, because again, if one is out of balance, the whole body the whole person is out of balance. And so this is really great to be able to address some of the things that have been happening. And so again, we thought that it was so timely to be able to have a therapist on, because all of us have had to make our own adjustments since sheltering in place, or as my pastor would say, sheltering in faith. And so, we really have had to make, various adjustments. And so, Monique, I'd love to be able to know, since shelter in place due to COVID-19, what types of things are you seeing that are arising in your own practice, in reference to whether it may be mental or emotional, things that you're having to address, I guess, with some of the people who choose to seek help, with you?
Yeah. So I would say it depends on the person. And this has been pretty difficult because I think first off, it depends on your living situation. If you live by yourself, right, quarantine is a completely different look than if you have a husband and 2 kids, right? So for someone who is living by themselves, isolation has been a humongous problem because especially if you live in an apartment. Like if you're in an apartment in a large city, it has been very rough. And this not just obviously my clients, but clients of like other therapists I've talked to. So isolation has been a very large one in those type of situations for people who are like lovingly teaching their children, right, becoming teachers, like in the blink of an eye, right? It's a lot of frustration, and I would say almost a little bit of helplessness, right? And I think helplessness is the thing that builds anger and frustration quickest. Because at that point, what do you do, right? You don't really have an avenue. You can't hire a tutor, right? Like all of the normal things that we would do to correct this problem are now taken from us. And so it's a lot of like helplessness, a lot of frustration in that feeling trapped. It's a struggle. And yeah, and like nobody likes that. Nobody likes the trapped feeling. Nobody likes the all right, I have to be in here with every single person in so yeah, so like I would say for those two, like definitely isolation, frustration, a little bit of hopelessness. And one thing that I have noticed is a lot of people are realizing like we need to communicate, y'all, because we can't, everybody can't be doing all this and nobody's talking, because you will come into tons of misunderstandings, right? If you're not talking about, okay, so these are the meetings that I have at this point, right? We need to move the kids to this side of the house. So like, they're not screaming in the background. Like, can we do this? Can we do that? And so there has been a rough patch for some people, like learning to communicate, about a lot of smaller issues that normally just aren't the case, right? Like we don't have to talk about, okay. All right, can you hear me?
Yes.
Okay. But yeah, we don't have to talk about where your office space is going to be and where we're going to teach the kids and how long they have to stay at the desk. And do they get recess? Do they get lunch? What time is lunch? Do we have enough food? Do we have enough money? Like, are our bills going to be paid? Are we going to be able to go to work? Are we getting furloughed? And all of these things is just causing stress, right? Just constant stress builders. And for people who already have mental health diagnosis, right, that gets exacerbated. And for people who don't, right, you are much more likely to be feeling like you have a mental health diagnosis because of these current factors. But I'm somewhat, I guess, different therapist where I personally feel most mental illnesses are actually like life-based illnesses.
Now I'm going to ask you, I had another question, but now I'm going to ask you to expound on that last statement. I'm going to ask you another question too, but I need to know more about that.
Yes. So for me, and I remember being in grad school and like really struggling with the whole like mental illness is just a brain chemical situation and like that is it. And I had to learn how to like practice, right? Or had a wonderful program. I went to University of Nebraska, and they forced us to come up with our own model of therapy. And I chose one that was a mixture of thinking and experience. And that was what didn't fit well with me. As I was like, how can it just be your brain, right? Like, sure, like the way we think has a huge part in our life, but if we don't take into effect that like your wife left you, you lost your job, right? You don't like, you're about to have to like lose your house. You're trying to scramble to find it. Maybe you have a chronic illness. Maybe like you have seasonal depression, right? And like the weather bothers you. And if we don't take into account like these real life factors that will cause depressive like symptoms, right? Then we are, I think, really ignoring the root causes of like what is really bringing depression into your life, what is bringing anxiety into your life. And this is a side, right? I'm not against medicine at all. I think that it is a great tool, but I knew like just in my own heart that it was not just a chemical disorder when I was like, so then why do we have clients who've been on medication for 20 years but are still depressed?
Very good.
I was like, because if it's chemical, right, like then we can fix it. But if it's not chemical, right, I was like, or not completely chemical, I was like, then there's something else going on that we're ignoring. So that way, pharmacists keep making money.
Yeah. Well, you know, I love that particular point of view, and in that particular point of view works very well with the faith-based community, because everything that we do is about change and becoming a new creature, you know, putting the old behind us and moving forward, you know, renewing your mind, these types of things that we can have some semblance of control over. But then for you to just tell me, oh, I'm like this for the rest of my life, and you're just going to take this pill to the day you die. But why? Why do I have to take this pill until the day that I die and nothing's changing other than the fact that I'm taking this pill? And if I miss the pill, I get worse. But if I...
And so many people think it's just I only have to take a pill and things are going to go great. And I tell all my clients, I was like, listen, if you expect to stop this right here for the medication, I was like, don't do it. I was like, because the only thing that's going to change is you're going to start spending money on something different and you get a bump, right? And then you come back down. And that's natural. It's very natural with most mental health medications where like you will feel great, you'll feel good, your things are going great, and then you'll start to plateau, right? And then that plateau feels like regular schmegular depression, right? Because you're not getting a bump.
Well, we're going to have to bring you back again and talk about that some more because, yeah, for sure. Yeah. For sure, because, I mean, I know so many people do need to hear that, especially in our community. It's hard enough in our community to admit that you need help. And then when I finally do break down and go get help and they put me on this medication and then it's still not working, or I was good for a while and then I did this and things are now kind of spiraling back. To, hey, you know what? You're not crazy. It just wasn't the right, I guess if I could say, recipe. You know, didn't give you the right all things that you needed in order to get back to a healthy position. So yes, just a plug right there if you want to consider coming back so we can talk about that. Absolutely.
Listen, there's a wonderful book called Lost Connections that like really details how depression is like a life disease, as I call it. Changed my whole perspective. And I was like, this right here, everything. Like we have lost connections and that is causing anxiety and depression. So yeah, I would love to talk about that.
Is this a life connection?
Lost connection.
Lost connection. Okay. Okay.
Yeah, because we could have you back for that, as well as, you know, some of the things that we're beginning to see, I think, in reference to people who had never been taught how to cope with life's difficulties, because whatever was modeled in front of them, well, mom and dad seemingly never had any disagreements, or whoever I was living with seemingly never had any disagreements, or how we dealt with stuff was all behind closed doors. So I never had a chance to see the process of how things were worked out. And so when I get into a tough situation myself, where it's not that I'm alone in doing it, it's just that I may be the responsible party for dealing with it. I don't really know how it was previously worked out because I kept all of the arguments, or if you will, all of the disagreements were kept from me, and I never understood how things ended up working out. I just knew that they had. And so perfectly, magically, if you will, stuff ended up getting worked out. And now I'm around and I'm losing my mind because I've never seen anybody work through rejection, work through limited resources, work through all of this. And if you don't mind, one of the other things we would love to have you back in, and maybe you may be able to get into it, is the importance of being able to develop critical thinking skills.
Yes.
We would love to be able to have you back for that.
They ruin critical thinking. I tell parents, any soccer mom I can get their ear on, don't do it. It's terrible for children. But yes, I would love to talk about that. I will go on a rant for who knows how long.
Well, we will be happy to hear all of that information because, I mean, it's relevant, not just in our community, but across the board. All of those things that Adina mentioned is really relevant for people to realize. Again, life is not a box of chocolates.
No,
we have to be able to take the good and the bad and know how to process it and work through it, and understand that processing period doesn't have to be done alone. It can be done with help. And even like Adina said, if you haven't witnessed what's healthy, then how do you know that it's healthy? Right.
Exactly. Yeah. I encourage all of my parents, because I think it's a big fear for parents is like, how much do I show? Right. How much do you reveal? How much is like from like past the teaching lesson to now I am putting my troubles and my burdens onto my children. And I always say, like, there is a fine line, right? But what I encourage my parents to do is work it out, right? Away from your children, and then come back and like talk to them about, okay, so this is right what we decided. We talked through it, right? And we think that this is what we want to happen. We think this is like how we agreed on it, all that stuff. Because let's be honest, sometimes the working it out part is messy.
Yeah, yeah, absolutely. Absolutely.
Yeah.
And so like you do not have to work out your problems in front of your children, right? But your children do need to know that problems are constructively worked out between you two, and then you come back and say like, okay, this is how we're going to do it. There's a celebrity, oh, what's her name? I love tiny little blonde, Kristen Bell. Right. And, you know, she's been acting for who knows how long. And I think she's adorable with her family. And she talks about how if her kids ever see them fight about anything, her kids are owed an explanation for how like they are now resolved. Because we don't only want you to see us fight. We want you to see us when we also come back to you and say like, we are doing okay now. Because kids also jump to their own conclusions like the rest. And it's a really healthy process to show them this is what the end looks like.
Yeah, I definitely can agree to that. With all of that from experience, my husband and I, we've been married 23 years and we have 5 kids. And so with each child, things were different. You know, we were together, we got married. They were, you know, we were young, and as we got older and more mature, the way we handled things became different. And it was to the point that by the time my youngest son came around, we understood better how to conduct ourselves.
And the oldest are like, you never did that with me. We were
That is the current conversation in this house, right? So it has everybody together. And we not too long ago we had a family discussion. That was absolutely what my oldest son said. So wait a minute, all y'all need to be quiet because y'all have it nowhere near the way that I did. And you know, it's a true statement. It's a very true statement. But I remember my youngest was in middle school and me and my husband had an argument. It was a long going one. And he had never saw that. Like he had never actually had that experience of seeing us argue, and not in a crazy way, but the disagreement was a disagreement that was okay to have in front of them. And so it impacted him so much so he wrote a letter to his friend about it. And the friend's mom gave the letter to us.
Oh, wow.
And so we were reading, I was like, okay, we got to do stuff a little more differently. And it actually made us start to have those disagreements. It may sound crazy, but allow ourselves to have certain disagreements in front of them more so that he wouldn't think this is not, everything is roses all the time. No, we're regular people.
Yeah, absolutely.
Yeah. To do this, some of the process in a way that they could know, okay, yeah, mom and dad argued right then. Like the messy part. Kids, we're going for a ride. We'll be back.
Like, we're just gonna step away. Don't burn the house down. We'll be back.
Yeah, we'll be back, right? But it made us, I can think about certain things with each one of them that was like, let's rethink this again. Go back and try something different so that they can see what normal looks like.
Yeah, and I mean, I think that's super healthy because that meant that you were willing to change and like you were willing to continue to improve and get better as parents. I think so many people stay stuck in a rut of like, well, this is how I was raised. This is how I want to do it rather than this is what's working. Right. And I think you really have to like focus on what's working, right? What's working for this kid? What's working for that kid? Because they're all going to be different. And unfortunately, like both of you are moms, so I'm sure you know, right? Like you got to switch hats with each one. Give them a different touch, right? Some kids get very emotional for if they see their parents argue, or some kids get hyped, like ooh, like. You do have to, for sure. I think that's the way to parent.
Yeah. I'm not a mom yet, but I was definitely the emotionally involved one, like, oh my gosh, not again. Really, y'all? Really? And it's just kind of like, oh goodness. But then also I began to internalize some of what they were going through. And so a lot of times people don't realize the residue of stuff because all you may have seen was one part. And like Monique was saying, being able to come back and say, well, hey, listen, that was, an argument that, people have disagreements. Everybody's not always going to be on the same page all the time, but we decided that we were going to compromise. And sometimes that's something that people have never seen before, whether you're kids or a big kid like us, some people have just never seen what healthy compromise is, not necessarily compromising who you are, but being able to achieve a specific result that this time it may go this person's way. Next time it may be that person's way, and just really being able to come together and have a meeting of the minds. I think it's so important.
One thing I learned in grad school, and I think it'll never leave me, is that because I'm a marriage counselor, a marriage and family therapist, and they said collaboration over compromise. And at first I was like, okay, so what's the main difference? There was like, so compromise is a win-lose situation. Everybody wins a little bit and everybody loses a little bit. But it was like collaboration is everybody wins, period. Right? Like we are going to collaborate. We are going to add all of the things that we both need and want, right? And find what our medium looks like. And I noticed that I started to do that in my relationship with my boyfriend. And we would be like, so how about this? And I'm like, okay, or right, this. And then he'll be like, okay, or we get to like this, that. And I'm like, all right, cool. I'm feeling that, but or. And then like do that. And that's literally how we just like stack all of our needs, right? In that same conversation, like, okay, I do want that, like, but I kind of want it just a little bit different. And it's like, okay, well, we can just add this little piece. And that's what we did. And then we're like, all right, well, we get to the end and we're like, yeah, exactly that. Let's do that. And we both feel really good about like how we got there. So I never feel like I lose in arguments, right? I just feel like I got a little bit more that I wasn't expecting.
Wow.
I like that.
Our audience is really enjoying this conversation. I don't know if you ladies can see right to the right of your screen. You should see live comments. And we've had, thank you guys for joining us again across Facebook, Periscope, YouTube, and Twitter. We really appreciate you joining us. And please, those who have questions to ask, don't be afraid to jump in the comment section. If you have some value you want to add, please jump in the comment section and we will address as many of them during this live broadcast as we can. And if we're not able to get to them, we'll be able to go back and address those in the comment section throughout the course of the week. But I see my husband has joined us on this conversation. Hi. Hey. So but he had some great points. It was some of the things that, like you said, we had to learn to do. And he said, but through all of the rise, relationships have ups and downs, and there are things that we have to learn. And then when you add kids in the mix, it makes it, even different. And even now through COVID-19, it's like, okay, we're married, we have kids, we have grandkids. There's still things we have to do. COVID-19 right now has us separated by a lot of miles. And so now having to work through those over the phone, over face calls and different things like that, temperamental teenagers, that's a chore. But as he said, through all of this, healthy relationship is important for healthy kids. Of course, there's always exceptions to the rules, but when you display a healthy relationship before them, it gives them something to model later.
Yeah, for sure. Also, one good thing for like modeling good relationships with kids, right? Even telling them when the argument is not resolved yet. Because I think people it's like start, go, or start, end, right? Sometimes, right, a car ride is not enough, right? And sometimes a car ride, you went and you're still mad, right? Nothing changed, right? They are still in their position, you are still in your position, and like right? Like we just gonna agree to disagree until this pops up again, right? And then kind of just telling like, okay, so like sometimes, right, disagreements don't work out. And that is also another thing that kids have to know. It's like, it didn't, like, I'm still mad, and that's okay. You know, as long as I don't act on, right, that anger, I am 100% allowed to still feel this way.
You know,
So that's
yeah.
good.
So that really leads well into the actual question that I had.
Okay.
Which is, what are some of the things that individuals and families, and I guess since we're talking about families, you know, right now, families can do to address these different types of anxieties or situations that may come up, especially now with COVID-19 being, you know, things that we could do in general, but things that we want to make sure we're doing with the shelter in place order being in place.
So I have 3 things that I put a lot of thought into that one, right? And it's alone time, quality time, and family dinners. Right. So I am a human. If my parents always ask me, like, what is the one thing I should do for my kids? Have family dinners. Sit down at a table, put things away, right? And have an actual family dinner. There are so many outcomes for children. And it's the craziest thing because you think family dinners are not a big deal. They are a humongous deal. They lower teen pregnancy rates. Like people who have family dinners are more likely to go and finish college. People who have family dinners are more likely to have higher incomes. They are more likely to have successful careers. Like it's crazy how many good outcomes come from this. But the more you think about it, the more it makes sense, right? A family dinner connects you with your unit, right? It connects you in a very safe and secure way, right? Because now I know that like I am heard, right? I feel listened to. And not only that, like I also learn how to use my own voice, right? So I get to shut this whole table up, right? And everybody is going to listen to me at this point, right? I mean, and it's not on purpose. Right? We're not, everybody else don't talk, but it's, everybody's listening to me, right? My parents are acting like what I'm saying is important, right? My siblings are like, hopefully, right? Parents are calming siblings down because sometimes they're like, well, let me interrupt, right? But it's like, no, this is that person's time. They get to share what they need, right? Then the family learns better communication styles because if you're doing it right consistently, you'll know the things that they do like, you know, things that they don't like, right? And family dinner is just priceless because you have to cook before, you got to clean after, and it's a whole process that really gets everyone together. So family dinners, y'all, I promise, it seems out the way, but they will help. Just give now. They will not help immediately. Let me just this is nothing in therapy is a quick fix. Let me just tell you, right? But it will help, right? Your kids will feel much more connected. They will understand things because you as a parent, right, is also, you are going to have a turn. You're going to have to talk about the stressful things that happen to you at work, right? You're going to have to talk about, hopefully, right, the stressful things that are happening in your family. If there are, right, COVID-19 situations, right, you're going to have to talk about being afraid for not just you, but for everyone there. Right? So they learn how to talk about emotions, right? They learn how to talk about struggles. They learn and see, right, that your parents actually struggle. Because most kids buy me what I want, take me where I want, do what I want. Thanks, appreciate you. I'm about to go hang out with some friends. Right? That will let whoa, mom and dad are like struggling, right? Like there's actually stuff going on, and it teaches them empathy, right? Huge, right, for all things. But so yeah, so number 1, family dinners. Number 2, or sorry, let me open it. I just was like, let me just run on anything that you wanted to say.
No, I love that idea of family dinner. It's something that, like, my husband's pet peeve for family dinner is nobody can have their cell phone on. I'm probably the number 1 rule breaker of that. Just honest, I'm like probably the number 1. I would say it was my kids, but it is probably me.
It does. You gotta, then there has to be a basket. So put it in a basket, and then whoever takes theirs out first, like they have consequences.
Oh, right? Geez, it's probably gonna be a basket. He's still on this right now.
He's taking mental notes.
If any of my kids are watching it, they're probably like, oh man.
Listen, I'm telling you, listen, kids, husband, you can write anything on the consequences list. This could be you got to wash dishes for a week. It can be like you got to cut the grass, like whatever chores y'all trying to get rid of. You can put on that person. Like, but I mean, it can. Right, as a family, you decide what consequences you give. But I'm very intense about like no phones at dinner. All my family knows it. Like my brother was talking to his wife on the phone, like, and I was still like. And he's like, I gotta go. Monique's staring at me. And I'm like, thank you. Like, we'll be done in 20 minutes. You can talk to her then.
Right.
Right. And I promise, right, being present, being very, very present with the people who are in your life, right, shows them that they matter. And that matters.
Yeah.
And it does. It does. It makes sense. It really, really does.
One rule breaker. It does make perfect sense.
Quasha is apparently a habitual rule breaker too.
Yeah. Who is calling me out like this? Family and friends call me Quasha. It's like, who is putting me out like that? I'm openly admitted on the World Wide Web that I am a habitual rule breaker in that area.
It's all about change, just making little baby steps. Okay, number 2, right? Alone time. Everyone needs alone time, even extroverts. Extroverts need alone time even more than introverts because they are the ones who will not take it, right? Like, unless it's forced on them, they're just like, no, thank you. This room by myself for what? Where's a friend? It's really important that we all have alone time. You have to center yourself in what you like and what you enjoy. We are constantly inundated with messages and advertisements and other people's news, other people's excitement, other people's emotions and feelings and thoughts. Because that was the one thing that I think the internet was terrible. It let everybody tell everything that they wanted to say at any time. Yeah. We don't do that, right? So you need time to be able to block the world out, right? And just actually find out, what do you like? What do you enjoy? Are you only doing things that are like popular, or are you doing things that like drive you, that fill you, that make you feel some type of like passion and joy? And I think, right, that can only be found in alone time.
Yeah. I started to find value in alone time since we launched our businesses, because because our office is at home. And so being in that office all day, literally all day and all night, after a while, it was like, I can't do this like this. Working, kids, all that, I can't do that. So then my new thing was to go out for coffee every day. So without fail, in the morning, first thing, I'm at a local coffee place. And so I think that's been my biggest struggle for COVID-19. It's like, I love that piece where I can go to that coffee shop, necessarily wasn't eating, maybe a cup of coffee, maybe a cup of tea, but just like, give me some time to get me together. Laugh at the old people, because a lot of veterans organizations met there early in the morning, and old people are hilarious.
So funny. My favorite population of people is old people.
Yes, old people are so funny, and I would get that time to laugh at them, give me some time, and then go and conquer the world. Yeah, alone time is invaluable. So think about it this way, y'all. Like, you're never going to get your big break idea with a bunch of noise in your head. Like, it's just not clear enough. You don't have the space, right? That thing is never going to pop to you when like you're at a party. I have not seen it happen. I'm not going to say it can't happen, right? Because never say never, but I have not seen it happen. Yeah. Last one is quality time, right? Whoever you are in your house with, do activities, real, planned, functional, like I have rules activities,
because we're spending so much time together that all we're really doing is being next to each other, right? We're just like sitting there, you're here and I'm here, so technically we're together. Right? And that's not the same as quality time. Right? It's not engaging in the same things. It's not like we're asking questions. We're like doing something. Me and my boyfriend just like made a painting. So listen, I am completely and utterly shocked by how good it came out. Like, right, but that was our thing. We did it. I think it took us like 3 or 4 days to like paint this painting, and I felt way better and more connected because we're like sitting next to each other and we're like, oh, okay, you're gonna do this one. No, I'm gonna do this one. All right, you make that tree. I'll do these leaves, right? And that activity, right, becomes like this nice little rallying thing of like, I want to do something with you rather than like we have to stay in the house together.
Right.
So I would say those are my top 3 tips for dealing with that.
And so for single people or people who are sheltering in place alone, what are some of the things, how can they use those same things, but, cater them to where it works for them?
Yeah. So alone time, easy, right? Quality time, right? That is making virtual events, to be honest, right? Like we can't be close to each other unless you have someone who like lives in your city. So like my cousin, like me and my cousin live in North Carolina, right? We're originally from Ohio and that's where all of our family is. So like we bop in between each other's house, and she's like a nurse too. A nurse practitioner. So she works in a clinic rather than at a hospital, right? So her house is safe, right? And my house is safe. And we're both like, we're the same person. So we are not going anywhere that is not like easy to socially distance, right? Like she'll run around her neighborhood. I'll go play tennis. You don't see nobody, right? And that is really how like we've been doing it. So then like we have her and her boyfriend, and then me and my boyfriend and her sister, right? And so we all just like this tiny little group. That's it. Like you can't hang out with nobody else. You can't hang out with nobody else. We only get like these people. And I would say like that is a good way to do quality time. If you kind of just like have a house packed like we do, pick your house well though, because that's gonna be the only people you hang.
That's right.
Right, but you can choose a quarantine house. You're like, all right, this is like the 1 or 2 places that I feel safe. I like feel like these people are also being safe. That is a very big thing. You have to make sure that the other house, right, are taking equally as strong steps as you are to be safe about this. But if so, right, then you can do quality time that way. So they all came over to my house. I made dinner. Like I love to cook, so I was like practicing recipes. I was like, y'all, I'm gonna figure out how to make Cheddar Bay biscuits. And so we watched the Jill Scott and Erykah Badu at our house, right? Like everybody came, we had a fun time. And she had a Cinco de Mayo thing, so we went to their house, and that's literally just been it, right? Bopping back and forth. Family dinner can really happen. Take this computer, wherever your dinner table is, sit down. Tell your family to do the same thing, and then have a family dinner, right? Because the truth is, it's not that these things can't work. It's just that they have to look different.
Yes.
Right. We have to all figure out what that different looks like and what the new normal is.
What the new normal is. Wow.
That's really good. And I think you've kind of touched upon part of my question, which was, were there specific activities that you can recommend to be able to create healthy communication and boundaries if you are sheltering in place with multiple people? So you kind of talked on a little bit of that, but if you'd like to expand, we'd be happy to hear.
So family dinners was one of those two, because again, very strong proponent of family dinners, but the other two, right, will be family check-ins, just seeing how everybody's doing, right? I think when you are near each other all the time, it kind of dilutes how was your day? I know how you were right here. Why would I ask you, right, how your day was? I saw it, right? But we didn't really, right? We saw their presence. We didn't actually see how their day was. We didn't see their interactions with other people, right? We're not stalking their social media to see if they got into some crazy spat with the person on the internet, right? And so like we still do need to remember to check on our family, even the people who are sitting right next to each other, or right, people who are across the country. So I would definitely say family check-ins. I call it emotional check-in, but everybody doesn't like emotions, so you can just call it a check-in. But see how they're doing, right? Like, how are you handling being inside? How are you handling not going to school? How are you handling like not being able to hang out with your friends, or just having to do distance learning? Because some kids are like, I'm tired of looking at screens.
Right.
Like, and you would think they would have never said it, and now they're like, these computers, these tablets, I'm done. Give me a book. Let me go outside. Right? And all the things that you would not have predicted, right? But like there's a lot of changes going on with them right now. And we do have to be present to ask for everyone, because I'm also getting tired of screens. And I mean, there's nothing you can do about it.
Right. No, I think we've seen some things on the news over recent weeks where kids have been taking this a lot more negatively than people would have originally imagined. I can't remember, but there was a case that I looked at a while back where, you know, a young person did commit suicide because of not being able to go to school and the stress from that. You know, they were really depressed, not being able to have that interaction.
Yeah.
But I have to admit, as many times as my kids have tried to not to go to school, you know, I never would have thought they would have been like, man, please let me go. You know, so as a parent with, and that's not David's struggle at all, but for parents who that would be their kid's struggle, what are some of the things that we can help them with if they notice that their child is really struggling with the loss of interaction from not being in school?
Right. So loss of interaction is going to be tough just because we still aren't allowed to interact, right? Or their best one is going to be picking that second house really well, right? Hopefully they'll have someone who is a friend or something like that, or being able to like get with some of their friends' parents and talk about what that would look like between like letting them go and do something together. So like if I was a parent, I would probably call up. Let's just imagine. I know this is probably not the case anymore, but when I was young, and I'm sure when you guys were young, you knew somebody up the street, right? So we'll just say somebody up the street's parent, right? Okay, can they go and do this thing? We can drop them off. They'll go play outside. We'll buy them some tennis rackets. We'll get them a ball to play up the street, right? But some type of like, let's at least get you one person. Right. If you don't want it to be me, because that's fair, right? I'm your mom. But like, if you do want or need somebody, right, then that is honestly, human interaction is a need that we cannot fill with screens. It's right. We were built to be tribal. We were built to be together. Human beings are made to be together. And not being together right now is really showing people like how much you need them. And so especially if they're getting to a very, very serious point, find them a friend, let them play with their friend, like do it as safe as humanly possible. Thankfully, like things are starting to lift, but like meet those needs. But you have to know what those needs are, right? You have to be checking in and asking them how they're doing. What do they need? Do they need any help with anything? Do they miss anything? Are they lacking in anything?
Yeah, that's good. That's good. Because that was just for me. It was kind of like, whoa. I would have, out of all of the things I thought would have been an issue, honestly, that thought never crossed my mind that, you know, a kid would be that, you know, so impacted by their lack of ability to go to school and interact with their friends, that it would put them to that place that they would consider, okay, life isn't worth living. Like, wow. Okay.
Right. Yeah. I mean, you got to think about it like just slightly different, right? Because school is like the career version of adulthood, right? Like it's all they have in some ways, right? People commit suicide if they lose their jobs,
Mm-hmm.
Right? Same, it's the same way. You lose everybody you knew at work. You lose like the connection with all the people, even like the tiny little interactions, the donuts in the morning, or like the fun little coffee breaks that you have. Right? It's the same with kids. Like I've lost everybody I know and talk to, right? Even if not like physically, right? But essentially, I have no access to them. I have no access to even like get close to seeing them again. And so like that it's a huge devastating blow. We've never had to go through, right, a high school experience or like any type of school experience in a pandemic. So for us, we're adults, right? We have a lot more options. We have like our own money to be able to do and spend freely with what we want. We can like plan for the future, and kids are kind of just, so I'm waiting until next year to keep doing this, right? That's rough.
Yeah. And wouldn't you say also the, like you said, pretty much the loss of familiarity, the loss of even structure, and that, that may be more surprising to more people, that I was so used to having a specific structure. And although, I may now have to log in to be able to do these particular lesson plans, or I have to log in to be able to do that, unless you're having something interactive like what we have, not that many people have really thought about having virtual recess, or being able to have, something else that actually ends up bringing them back together. Maybe they could even end up doing something fun, where they've created, a Facebook neighborhood group, or, something else that kind of brings people back together. I know here in Texas, in my area, I have actually seen where neighborhood families have gotten together. They have literally camped out in the driveway. And someone, maybe one person decided that they wanted to get out on the grill. Someone else ended up bringing sides, and they've safely sat 6 feet across from one another, but they have literally the lawn chairs that have been out, and they can still speak with one another. They can see one another. They can still socialize without it seeming like it's been just, I've been completely shut off. And so maybe that's one other thing, if you can't at this particular point be able to physically get in proximity of one another, but that you find other ways to be able to do that. And so I do know actually someone who is a graduating senior, and so I really do feel for her. She's a graduating senior in high school, and so there is obviously no senior prom. I'm not quite sure what graduation is going to look like, in reference to that, even though things are beginning to reopen here in Texas. The school year has been canceled. In reference to that, what is that going to look like in reference to actually being able to cross the stage and be able to have your family see you with that diploma, and to be able to announce, hey, this is the college that I'm going to, these are my next plans, thanks for supporting me so far. And on top of that,
parties, the whole thing.
Yes. So that whole adaptability, thing, it's critical, really, really critical, that they still have a way to be able to celebrate, safely, obviously, but also to kind of acknowledge the loss of everything that's been familiar and what you hoped, how you hope things would go. So.
Yeah, because change is hard. Change is, incredibly hard. Not just for adults, right, but for everyone. And when we get put into a position like this, completely unexpected. There's it's a rough ride. Let's just say that it's a rough ride for everybody.
Yeah.
And so the last thing that I did have for that question was to actually create goals as a family.
Oh, okay.
And so I don't mean like all of us are working towards one goal. I mean, everybody get their own pencil and paper, right? And everybody write their own personal 3 goals that they want to be working on, right? That week or like that month, whatever time frame the family wants to do it. Because when you see your parents actively working towards something that is right for just them as a whole, right? You learn to do the same. It's the same with that. Like, we have to show them what life looks like, right? Do you want your kids to be able to hit goals? You got to show your kids how to set goals, how you remain, listen to me, consistent and disciplined. Right?
Oh my. Oh my.
That's a whole thing in itself, right? Because we all know those New Year's resolutions really become January resolutions, and then
Right.
then what happened, right?
Yeah.
And so, I love it when like people like set goals with their kids. Like, okay, so what do you want to accomplish? Is it just that you want to get your homework done? Maybe you got a paper done early. Do you want to like start a new skill? Do you want to have a hobby? Are you learning a new instrument, right? How long are you going to play each day, or how many times a week, right? Maybe 3 times a week for an hour. But really like setting those goals so that way the family can be held accountable, right? And it also gives you other things to talk about, right? Like how are your goals doing? You will actually know what your kids are interested in, because so many times you have an idea of like who they were, and like you're not really tuned into like where are they headed, like where are they wanting to go, right? And having them set those goals with you gives you an idea of like, when did you want to start playing saxophone, right? Where did this come from? Like, wait, you want to start a business? Like what? Right? And it gives you like, I'm learning a ton of new stuff about my kid, and you get to help them, right? Like move their own goals forward, but putting all the work, please, please, please put all the work on them, right? It is their responsibility to meet their goals. Do not be a hover mom or dad, right? Hover moms or dads out there, don't do it. It is not helpful. You are raising adults, right? You want them to be capable and self-sufficient. You want them to be able to find a problem and realize, I don't know the answer. Now I got to figure it out, right? And so that's why like setting goals as a family is a really, really good tool that you can use right now.
I like that.
I like it too.
Yeah, I like that. Definitely. Wow. Our hour has went through really fast, ladies. Yes, it has gone through really, really fast. You know, you've been an amazing guest today, and we really would love for you to come back again, and so we can continue in this conversation and explore other things, because mental health is absolutely something that should be talked about, and we should all be striving to be healthy mentally, no matter what. But as you were saying, for the purpose that you started your business was to address it within the Black community, is, of course, I'm biased in that opinion. I agree 100% that we need to address those issues in our community and being more open to explore it and talk about it. Because a lot of things we can't get better if we don't acknowledge that it happened and know what we need to do to work through it, and knowing that you don't have to do it by yourself.
That's right.
Yeah, by yourself. And even like we've talked a lot today about family and marriage, and I can't remember who I was talking to. I was talking to another friend who was looking at some statistics about the Black family and what those statistics look like. And she wasn't happy that within what she saw then, the data that she was looking at that time showed that Black families look less and less like mom and dad at home, and more like single parents or co-parenting situations. Then that just really motivated her to want to do something different. And I mean, I don't necessarily know if I agree with the statistics or not, because we see a lot of Black families. Now, whether or not we participated in those surveys is a different question, but that's just my opinion. And what healthy looks like for us, because what healthy looks like for us may not be healthy for someone else. And I'm not advocating for dysfunction. It's just that as a community, we've experienced so many things that other communities have not experienced.
Right.
That who's judging our healthy meter here?
Right. And I think that a lot of those statistics do not factor in the historical context of this, because the United States government made those statistics and the United States government caused those statistics. Right. Because, I'm a huge history nerd. So I'm just a little throwback, right? In the 80s, right, when the crack epidemic and all this stuff was happening, especially moving into the 90s, right, the United States government effectively broke up hundreds of thousands of families, right, and essentially caused single parents. And after that, right, then there's the continuation of the private prison industry, which cuts off communication from families almost at a cruel rate, and like increasing or continuing to increase how much people are removed from the outside life. So when you are now removed from your outside life and your family, right, not really come back in the same way that you were. So then those families continue to be single parent families rather than what they were. So then you were raised in a single parent family with one parent who has been to prison, one parent who maybe has not, right? That can cause dysfunction because people who go into prison very likely come out with a mental health diagnosis, right? A lot of people who are in prison currently have a mental health diagnosis that has not been
addressed.
That has not been dealt with or healed or addressed in any way, shape, or form, and is currently being exacerbated, particularly in male prisons. I have a huge bone to pick about male prisons because they are terrible, honestly. And I can't say that that's not, no offense to any men who are listening, right? I cannot say that that is not a male thing, because there's actually research that shows that men in all male environments do worse than men in any type of co-ed environment, because like women give a softer touch. That's why you can have a show about like Orange is the New Black and it's funny and it's comedic and all this stuff. And then you have like Prison Break, right? Where it's just like, like, right. And that dysfunction, right? These people come out of prison, right? They continue this same cycle, right? And it like just continued to trickle through our community as more and more Black men were snatched, and women, obviously, right? Were snatched from like the love of their family.
Yeah, that's definitely a topic. Definitely a topic worth discussing, and I think that not enough people in general in America fully realize what you just said.
Right.
You know, they don't, in our own community and other communities, we don't fully realize the severity of the situation and what it is currently doing, you know, and how it is aiding with the negative statistics that we get, because we're really not getting what we need in order to be healthy, because there's a big difference between equity and equality.
Right. Absolutely.
Yeah, 100%.
Absolutely.
And let's be honest, it's never been equitable or like equal for Black people in America ever.
Right.
And while it's unfortunate, right, that is our truth. And one thing that I love about our community is that we have always been the like, okay, you can throw whatever you want at me, but I'm about to turn up. Okay, we're about to we're like, I don't know what this nonsense is, but like we are coming up. And that has always just, I mean, like, Blackness just like feeds my soul. I just love it. I absolutely love it. Oh, hello.
Hi, Zachariah.
Say hi.
Hi.
He woke up from a nap.
He lost his mommy. She was in the room with him, and then she left. He was probably fully looking at TV and looked around and realized she wasn't there. And so now he's a little sad.
Oh.
You know, it's like what you guys were saying is we have to bring a greater level of awareness and stop denying it. Like, don't be in denial about it. And as a nation, don't be in denial about it. It's not something that you get over. You just can't get over and say, like you said, you know, you give us lemons, we'll make lemonades. But that doesn't mean the lemon wasn't sour, and it doesn't mean it didn't leave that nasty aftertaste in your mouth before you put the sugar on it. So we can address it, we can heal from it, and we can move forward. But a part of that is the acknowledgement that it happened. Yeah, the dinosaurs. Wow. Yeah, but you know what, ladies, let's indeed get together and do this again and talk about some of these. Talk about some of these things that we've discussed here today in greater detail, because it's a very helpful conversation. It's a very helpful conversation.
Yeah, this was amazing. Thank you so much for having me. This has been wonderful.
Thank you. Thank you so much. We are so grateful that you were able to join us. And, I think that definitely there may have been some other comments that may have been in the chat. And so hopefully, if there were any questions that were unanswered, that we may be able to go back and be able to address them again. But again, thank you so much for taking time. It's definitely a needed topic. And also, hopefully, one of the things that we can get to maybe next time is in reference to sometimes the roles that we put ourselves in and that we have allowed ourselves to occupy, which makes us feel like we have to be Superman or Superwoman so we can be free to take off the capes and be able to let go of certain things that we sometimes hold ourselves to, but not necessarily other people do. So
100%. Let me throw just one little note and nugget on this, because it was something that like changed. So some people are addicted to suffering, right? And like they love it, feel it. Exactly.
Yes.
And that is part of like that cape. And so you really do have to pay attention to, like, it's not just, I want to do all these things for my family. It's, I want to be the one to do all these things so I can now hold it over your head that I am tired and struggling and don't have time for myself. And so, so that's going to be a 2-part conversation, you guys. It's not just you need to stop being great, right? You need to stop struggling or forcing yourself to suffer.
Okay, that sounds like that's a show in and of itself. So
it's like dedicated one whole session.
Yes, absolutely.
Right there. You're spoken a lot of truth right there. Wow, ladies. Well, it's been great. I really hate to say goodbye, but
right. I know. I'm like, man, I still want to talk. There's so many things to talk about.
There are so many, like I have so many more things to say about even the things we've just discussed. But we will do this again really, really, really soon. Please let us know what your schedule looks like, and we will definitely have you back on. And then for our viewers, thank you so much for joining us. I know you guys have loved this conversation. I can tell by the comments that are coming in. Continue to like and share this broadcast across all the platforms, across Facebook, Periscope, YouTube, and Twitter. You guys, thank you. Continue the comments and the feedback through the course of the week. We will be checking the Facebook feeds for those comments. Transparent moment. If you're commenting on YouTube, I know how to go back and comment a little bit. But if you're commenting on Periscope and Twitter, haven't figured that part out yet, but I'm working on it. But if you're on our Facebook feed, I got you covered. I can comment on that, no problem. And as well as our guests, our co-host and our guests will be able to see those comments and be able to address them here on Facebook. And if you have something in particular that you would love Dr. Williamson to discuss with you or to bring up in our next sessions, guys, please put that in the comment section. Send us an email. Just drop that on us. If there's a particular topic that you want to hear her talk about that you think will be added into to what we're currently discussing in future topics, please let us know. We'll be more than happy to bring that up in the discussion when we do meet again. Again, thanks, guys, across all of our social media. It's a pleasure being with you guys today, ladies, today. And we will be back next Tuesday at 12 p.m. Central Standard Time with another amazing guest on our Lunch and Learn. And we thank you guys and see everyone again soon.
Take care.
Bye.